And Drew, you've mentioned before how, times are tough and it was difficult. And now that you're apart, what, what advice or information can you share at this point with that?
Yeah, I guess the first thing I would say is mindset is everything. And my mindset now is completely different from my mindset in April of 18 when the divorce was final, which was completely different from my mindset when we separated in 2015, and completely different from my mindset when we got married in May of 2000. So mindset is everything. And, I want to reach back to the prenuptial thing you mentioned. And also, when you're getting married, you're not thinking you're ever going to get divorced because, again, it's about mindset. So the prenuptial thing, I personally would never have thought of any kind of prenuptial thing in my first ever marriage because you're not thinking that when you get married, So the thought isn't that the initial thought I would have if I was thinking about a prenuptial is like, oh, maybe I'm not feeling secure that this marriage is going to work. So you talk about prenuptial before you even get married. Wouldn't even have thought of broaching that subject. And I can't say that retrospectively I would, because I'll be the first to say right now in this mindset, I would never change 1 second of my past, of my life, because if you change 1 second, I wouldn't be here talking with you guys right now. Sure. Things happen for a reason. So that would be my first thing. My second thing would be is about the importance of managing expectations. And managing expectations early on is something I didn't do, and I don't think my ex-wife did. One thing that I've in talking to people who have had strong marriages, or are working at their marriages, many have had relationship therapy while they're dating, and I thought it was very interesting. That's something I would never have thought of, but they do that because when you meet somebody, they'll have their pet peeves and they have their little quirks and idiosyncrasies. And in the beginning, you're like, oh, that's cute, that's funny. But after a while, if it's not addressed, if it's really bothering you, resentment could set in. So if you're able to kind of hash out these small little things that could turn into big things, like Desiree said, the straw that broke the camel's back, addressing that stuff early and managing expectations, I think is so important. Because I believe, and actually Desiree and I spoke about this stuff yesterday, that we believe that any kind of conflict in any kind of relationship is due to misalignment in expectations between the two parties. Because if one person expects one thing and the other person expects another, you have this alignment gap. And if there's that kind of misalignment, it's hard to succeed in any kind of relationship. So I would say manage expectations early on and communicate often. And the last thing I would mention is about communicating. I don't believe there's any such thing as no communicating. You either communicate effectively or ineffectively. And in essence, avoidance is a form of communication. And that was the method that my wife at the time and I used, because we both didn't really like conflict. And I was walking on eggshells because if I didn't say something tactfully enough, it would end up in a discussion that wouldn't be pleasant. So mindset, managing expectations early on, communicate effectively and consistently, and nothing wrong with early relationship therapy to get rid of all the little things that might be big things later on.
Yeah, so I may have missed it, but I find it interesting that it was about, here we're like 35 minutes into it, and communication was, I think this was the first time somebody mentioned it, but everybody did allude to it, right? So communication is always going to be a key part of that.
That we have to be on the same page. We have to be reading the same book.
Yes.
And another thing I also think often about is I used to live by the golden rule. And think about what the golden rule is. Do unto others as you would want done unto yourself. So exactly what Desiree said, not everybody likes it that way. So I don't live by the golden rule anymore. I live by the platinum rule. Do unto others as they would want done unto themselves. And how do you ask them. And so it's exactly what Desiree is talking about. If I had lived by the platinum rule, I'm not saying it was all my fault. I mean, I wasn't the one who wanted the divorce. She did. If you're always thinking about do unto others as they would want done unto themselves, you're always asking them, what do you want? There's part of your managing the expectations. So I think that's very, very important to actually really respect the other people's feelings and viewpoints.